Another interview for Overtime Heroics MMA, and I'm bringing on today Kevin Natividad. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Close. Okay. He's making his debut next week, October 31st, on the Anderson Silva versus Uriah Hall card, and he's fighting a pretty good challenge who won on the Contender Series and is 10-1, Miles John. What's up, man? Thanks for your time, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Just, well, I'm actually doing pretty good considering that it's the weight cutting time and whatnot, but I pretty good. Yeah. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. Let's start with just for the because a lot of people aren't hardcore MMA fans, so we'll start with like what was your bring up like, and how did you find MMA? What brought you to it?
So, at least for me, like the way how I found out about MMA was I actually didn't even start watching MMA until maybe like 2 years after I started training. And it was because I grew up in Hawaii, and everyone in Hawaii, like we all just fight for just cause. Everybody tests each other for respect, and it's actually one of the easiest ways to make friends. But me and my buddies, a couple of them wrestled, and then they started training at some of the big Hawaii gyms. And one was called like 808 Fight Factory. And then I hopped over to a Nobu Uniao Jiu-Jitsu place just to keep up. And then yeah, we started training. 4 months into training just jujitsu, I had my first MMA fight, and I won with an armbar.
Yeah, I seen that you had 5 fights, I believe, in LFA, which is like, to me at least, it's like kind of like the minor leagues to the UFC, and just like a baseball and every other sport has a minor leagues. I feel like that's one of those organizations that does very well preparing guys to come to the UFC. Um, what and we just mentioned your opponent, but first, what is like your style for the fans that don't know you? Are you coming in looking to finish with submissions? Are you coming in looking to bang? Like what can we expect from you in your debut?
All, or at least for me, like I like to play a lot more. I like to have like a thought process going on in the fight, cause the whole like human chess game kind of thing.
Yeah,
I love that part about fighting, the whole technical aspect and everything. Even though a lot of people call me like a technical brawler, it's because I think of it technically, but I'm also always looking for a finish. Like whether it's on the feet or on the ground. If I mean, if you're looking for anything from me, you should be expecting me to find a way to finish the fight. If I see an opening, I'm going to try to take it.
mentioned the weight cut. How's the weight cut going, considering like the insane circumstances and COVID tests and everything that's going on?
A weight cut is actually going a lot better than um, any of my previous weight cuts. I mean, UFC and everything. They really take care of you. They even give you all the food that you need. Yeah, the guys at the PI, the UFC Performance Institute, all I got to do is water load for a couple days, and I honestly feel great, regardless of the fact that I'm cutting weight. I don't even feel like I'm cutting weight, and I think it's because, well, today I kind of just started, but still, like, I'm just excited for this fight.
Yeah, if you're excited for this fight, I could only imagine the excitement you had when you stepped up on short notice to fight Ricardo Lamas, because he is like a legend in the sport. And I just wanted to get a quick answer on like why did that fight not happen? I know it was because of COVID tests and stuff, and but why did that you end up having to pull out of that fight after stepping up?
So it was a big, crazy thing. Like, so the whole story behind it, um, and I found out, just like you said, I found out about the fight on that Sunday. I did all my medicals and everything on Monday, and then we flew out and made it to Vegas on Tuesday. We got there, and as soon as we got to the hotel, we took our COVID test, and we had to quarantine in the hotel for a day until we got our results. What was crazy was that my first test actually was positive. I was all broken down, and I was pretty sad. But then I thought, wait, my brother, who's also my roommate and my main training partner, he's negative, and my coach and my other teammate who came with us, they were both negative. And I was like, okay, wait, no, that can't be right. I was wondering if we could get a retest. The UFC gave us a retest, and then come to find out it was inconclusive. So I took another test after that, and then I was negative. So I was quarantined for 2 days. Um, we finally got a negative result. We went to the weigh-ins. I weighed it and everything. Everything was good to go. We took another test after the weigh-ins. That was negative, and I thought it was golden. Like we were ready to fight. You know what I mean? And then the commission caught wind of my false positive result, and because of that, they decided to err on the side of caution and not allow me to fight. And UFC already had brought a backup.
Okay. What going back to your opponent, what do you think of Miles John as an opponent?
Well, from the get go, he looks strong, you know, and I know he's like a pretty solid wrestler, good ground game, and I know he's powerful. Like he throws heavy hands on the feet. I'm excited for it because I couldn't ask for any another tough opponent to test my skills for the biggest show. You know what I mean? As long as it's gonna earn us that 50 G's, or one of us, or both. It could be both. That's all that matters to me. Like at this point, I don't care who it is that I fight. I'm in the UFC now, and I'm fighting the best in the world. So
Yeah, but they didn't do you no favors with Miles Johns because he's not necessarily like some of these guys like Sean O'Malley. You've seen him get very favorable matchups for a while, and then you like Miles Johns is somebody that I watched on the Contender Series and was very impressed by. Like, and that's not an easy first fight. So I think like as fans, we're going to get to see what Kevin Natividad, or if I said that right, is all about immediately. Like,
yeah,
so,
and that
um,
I wouldn't want it any other way, to be honest. Like I don't I only especially when I first started fighting, I wanted to fight like the tough guys right away because for one thing, it like the knowing that the guy that you're fighting is tough keeps you nervous, and it it keeps you sharp in a way. And that excitement, like you have to fight mentally, um, in your head at least, like not to break. I've never broken like with that, and it honestly makes me more excited. Like, and also like if you lose against a guy who's kind of a bum, then it really doesn't make you look good either. You know what I mean? If you lose to someone who's tough, it's just like, well, the guy was tough. You know what I mean? So,
um, you're 9-1. Your one loss came to Glenn Baker. I just wanted to get a brief like what went wrong there, and I know it was a very short like fight, but what went wrong there, and what changes can we expect from you from if anybody did watch that fight?
so that fight for me, um, back to what I was talking about. Um, a lot of people were expecting me to just run through him. You know what I mean? And to be honest, I think I still would. But like, he has heavy hands, and I went in there like really emotional, like, oh, I wanted to fight. And on top of that, like my that was like my fourth or fifth professional fight, and the nerves that I was talking about, the nerves that keep you sharp, I wasn't feeling them anymore. After that, everything came back, and in a good way, I think. So I learned, even though the fight was like so short, I learned so much. Like, on a technical aspect. Like you wouldn't think you'd be able to learn so much from that. And I think it helped me grow to become a better fighter in general. Like like seeing things with my eyes, testing out things, feints and whatnot, and setting up different stuff. Especially with this whole like COVID thing that went on this whole year, like that's all. That's all I've been kind of like doing is training. And from then, and the last couple fights that I had up until now, I feel like you can expect a much more like technical, seasoned version of myself.
Um, are you going into this fight since it is your debut? Are you kind of, do you have like those first UFC fight jitters, or is it more like you were ready for this and you're like finally?
Well, I would say when I took the fight on short notice, um, I had the jitters. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know what to expect, like leading up to it, even the weigh-ins and all that. But I can visualize it now. Ever since I did already go, and even though the fight didn't happen, I'm not as nervous. You know, like I
Yeah,
know going into the cage and everything, that a lot of people probably consider that the most nerve-wracking part. But to me, it's everything before that. For
it's
some
yeah.
reason.
Once you get into the cage, it seems like most fighters, it's kind of like that switch flips, and once you're
Mhm.
actually in there, it's everything that leads up to that point that the UFC is very different with weigh-ins and the procedures, especially during COVID. So you kind of got a taste of that, and
Yeah,
now you just get to the fight part and get to go through the same process. I
yeah,
imagine it would make it a bit easier. But
it's a lot easier. It makes it like I don't know why. Like it might not seem like much, but it doesn't make me nervous at all. Like thinking about it now, and which is great because my focus toward what I need to do is even like I can focus on that even more because I already know what to expect leading up to the fight.
yeah, I couldn't agree more there. Not too many people get a trial run at leading up to a UFC fight and then get to do it again before they actually debut. So it's,
Mhm.
I mean, that would be pretty convenient. Speaking about you brought up Hawaii, being from Hawaii. Is that like, I'm not familiar with the culture or anything. Is that kind of like what most men growing up do there? They're just like, oh, there's the new kid. Let's see what he got. Like, and
Kind of,
because
kind
you
of
hear
it.
these stories from like Max and BJ and Medeiros, and you hear all the like it's pretty much the same story that you kind of alluded to.
Well, although like anywhere you go, you'll find like tough Hawaiians, and if they see anybody who they think is tough, they'll want to test them to see if he's tough too. You know, but yeah, it's almost the same here and there. We back home in Hawaii, we called them mukbangas, and all the mukbangas they walked around, and this was back when everybody was wearing like tall tees and stuff, and like with the denim like shorts that are basically capris, and we all wore like these slippers called Scots, and we all wore our socks with them for some reason, and they all just they walked around looking tough, and if somebody wanted the test, they'd be well, most of them would be down to test. Some of them just like the look. Um, and yeah, that definitely was a huge part of the culture. Like when Max and everybody talks about it, it's not really an over exaggeration. They're probably just talking from past experience. Like
Yeah,
it's just funny that like it's funny to me because when I first moved out to the mainland out here, it definitely was a culture shock because nobody talks to anybody out here when we go on into the road, unless you're neighbors. You know what I mean? And back home in Hawaii, you can talk to anyone. You can walk on the sidewalk and just be like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And they just be like, "Oh, what's up?" And then it can go like that, or it could be like, "What's up, bro?" And they're just like, "What? Where are you from?" And they start taking off their shirt and then it literally goes that fast. Like it's not even a joke. Like I remember sitting at a bus stop one time after um, going to the 50th State Fair, like this carnival, and Was it? Yeah, yeah. I was just there. I was in high school still, and I remember there was a group of guys. There was like four of them, and then they were all standing by the bus stop. They look at me and they're just like, "What's up, bro? Where you from?" And I'm like, "Oh, Ever Beach." And like, "Oh, they're from Halava. I hate you guys." And they started like, getting pumped up. One guy took off his shirt and the other guy took off his slippers and put them like on the side. And I was just like, oh, my ex was there and she stopped the fight. She's like, go home, you guys. We're not trying to do that here today. And yeah, it literally goes by that fast.
So you got to avoid some trouble throughout most of your life?
That was one of the times I avoided trouble for sure. Not all the times I was that lucky. Yeah, I got into a lot of fights back home in Hawaii that looking back at them right now, I probably didn't win a lot of them. Like, I went back and all I did was rush in throwing 1-2s, and if that didn't happen, then or if that didn't drop somebody or make them want to stop, then I probably got hit a lot, and then we both just quit once we got tired.
Did you are you f like, were you born in the Philippines, or is that just, like, where your family's from?
My mom and dad are both Filipino, and my dad also has a little bit of Hawaiian blood in him. So we're mostly Filipino for sure. But we just grew up in Hawaii, so that's why we're
Okay.
used to the culture. At the same time, Hawaii is also like a mini Philippines, especially depending on where you go. Like I grew up in Ever Beach, but most of my family lived in a city called Kalihi, and a lot of Filipinos over there. And a lot of Filipino food. I gained a lot of weight when I first,
Sure. So, is there anything that you wanna say to the fans before they see you debut in the UFC?
um, just expect some fireworks. Got that. You know, I love everyone that comes and or that watches and supports me. Everyone from Hawaii and everyone, especially everyone from the Philippines. A lot of you guys have been reaching out to me a lot lately too, and I don't want anyone to forget that I am also really Filipino. so, um, so Hawaiians plus the Manny Pacquiao s type of want to fight and throw hands as many as you want. Yeah, that's about it.
Alright, well, thank you for your time. I hope
Thank you, man. Uh, Thanks for having me. It was fun.